So recently, Joy Reid said something that had everybody scratching their head. Now, I don't like little clips. I like to watch the whole video, but I ain't subscribed to BET, and so I haven't looked at the whole interview yet. But she went on this BET podcast interview or what have you, and she said something about the Republicans and income tax. Now, I'm not going to play the video because there's music behind it, and since this is YouTube, they always like to hit you with a copyright. I think if you play music over 15 seconds, they'll hit you with a copyright. You got to take it out and they'll mute it anyway. So, what we're going to do is we're going to read it from the Daily Mail. And then I want to give y'all a little history of the income tax system in America. And I had a book and I don't should have showed it to y'all so many times. I don't know what I did with it. It's not on my shelf, it's not in my room. So I don't know what the hell I did with that book. I gotta find it because I like to read books and then go back and reread it and look over some of the highlights. But I used to always it was sitting right here on my desk, and I would always reference it a lot of times in videos in some of my videos. But anyway, let's go to it. This is from the dailymail.com and it reads Joy Reid says Republicans want to abolish income tax and let people keep earnings to themselves. God, I would love to play this without the music. Ousted MSNBC host Joy Reid has claimed Republicans want to eliminate income tax so America can return to its hierarchical past. Okay. Reid, during a BNT Talks event Monday, said that everyone is living in fear as the country experiences what she described as a fascist movement, which she further defined as a right wing, white nationalist, white supremacist moment. She accused the GOP of wanting to roll back business regulations and restore racial hierarchy in the U.S. that would see white men at the top and black people at the bottom, with women near the bottom. Interesting how she separated white men, black people, and women. Like it's three different categories. That's why I'm glad Trump said there's only two genders, male and female, because it's too much separation. People trying to separate themselves from each other. See, she did this slick crap here talking about women near the bottom. So basically, she's a woman. Although she's a black person, she's a woman, so she's near the bottom, which means the only people that will be at the bottom, black men. Pay attention to what these people be saying, man. That's why I'm glad her show is gone. And I'm glad Biden didn't win because crap like this is what separated people, which what separates the black men from the black women, and which is why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't have a chance in hell of winning this past election. Y'all need to get y'all stuff together. But let's get back into it. She accused the GOP of wanting to roll back businesses. Oh, my bad. Reid argued conservatives are actively building, forgive me for these ads, but hey, that's what's on here. Actively building a society where the wealthiest earners no longer have to pay taxes or face regulations. One of the reasons they're so serious about it is that if you go back before the 20th century, there were no income taxes, she told BET host Maya Bell. There were no regulations on business. You could earn as much money as you want, leave 100% of it to your children with no taxes. What the hell is wrong with that? And what she said, for those of you who don't study and who don't read, but I'm going to give you a quick history lesson here in a second. If you don't, you'll think what she's saying is gospel. And you'll be like, yeah, Joy, that's right. Forget them white folk. But what she said, she put together two things that don't match. Because what she said don't make sense to actual history. That's the word they want back. And to get it back, they need society to change. They need people to be less modern. They need people to want fewer things. They need people to be satisfied with just being workers. Reid further alleged the Republicans don't really believe that any of us have any natural rights. Where they got that from? Reid showed that Reid Out was canceled by MSNBC earlier this year, with the host at the time claiming she was fired from the liberal network due to her race and anxiety over President Donald Trump. She also alleged her firing had nothing to do with the show's cratering ratings and speculated her outspoken views on Trump and the war in Gaza may have played a role in her ousting. And again, your ratings were tanking. Reid has a long history of accusing the GOP of racial injustice, and just 4 years ago suggested the party would trade tax cuts to return to pre-civil rights era America. I'll say it again: people on the right would trade all the tax cuts for the ability to openly say the N word like the good old days. Hell, they said, "Oh, no," she tweeted in 2012. Hell, they do it now. What the hell? What they got to do with tax cuts? To them, not being able to be openly racist and discriminatory without consequence is oppression. Trump is the avatar for this freedom. Her recent comments at the BET event seemingly echoed this remark, with Reid suggesting the party now wants to eliminate the tax system altogether to achieve an alleged goal of restoring racial hierarchy. The Daily Mail has approached the White House for the comment. Blah 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 blah. So Joy Reid sounds stupid right now. Let me tell you why. Matter of fact, forget that. I'm not just gonna tell you. I'm gonna show you. Chat GPT. Here we come. And as you can probably see, it says this is the history of income tax in America. The history of income tax in America, the story of war, politics, economics, and constitutional change. Here's a clear timeline of how it developed. Now, again, there's a book I got by a black tax lawyer out of, I want to say, Chicago, that I cannot for the life of me know where it said or remember what the title is. But if I do, I put the description in the box, and I put the link in the description box so you can go and buy that book. But it talks about taxes, and it talks about how the only people that was taxed back in the day were rich people. If now Joy Reid talking about they want to take it back to where everybody keep their money. The only people back in the day that were taxed were quote unquote people who made over $4,000 a year, which was a very minute group of people, maybe a handful. It went up for different reasons, as you could probably look on the screen and tell, and we're gonna get into some of this. But like I said, what she's saying don't make sense. And then some of the taxes, how they separated from filing married, filing jointly, how you can pay more, how you can pay less. Laws like that were changed due to rich people, due to a couple where a husband had his own business and his wife was a stay-at-home wife. And if he bottom line is if he filed taxes, if he was the only one that filed taxes, he would have to pay like, I want to say like maybe 20%, whatever taxes. But if he could separate it and say his wife made half and he made half, or his wife claimed half and he claimed half of the money, then they pay like 10%. First, they were sued, they had to pay, then they sued the government and they won. And that's how now you can file jointly or you can file separate, married, filing jointly. But again, unless you done read on and did a little history, read a little history, you wouldn't know these things. But let's quickly go through this history of income tax, and you can see early American pre-Civil War. The U.S. government was originally funded mainly by tariffs, which is what Trump is trying to get back. See, what you got to understand, here's what y'all got to really understand. You can play around, do some bullcorn for so long, do some stuff that you ain't supposed to be doing for so long. And then eventually you wake up and you see the damage that you've caused. Now, there are two things you can do. You can continue to do what you do with your lip stuck out, but a lot of people don't want to give up the comfortability in order to get things right. Or you can wipe the slate clean and start over. And next time it happens, hopefully, like the timeline in the Marvel movies with the Infinity Stone and stuff, you can take the Infinity Stones and put it back in line so that everything continue to run smooth. That's what you have to do in real life. You can't continue to make the same dumb choices, the same bad decisions that's hurting you and your people, and think something's going to change by the grace of the Most High. It don't work that way. You got to do what's right. So anyway, tariffs, excise taxes, and the sale of public land. The Constitution limited, 1787 limited direct tax unless they were a portion by population, making a true federal income tax difficult. For decades, there was no permanent federal income tax. You got the Revenue Act of 1861, introduced the first federal income tax to help fund a Union war effort. Nice, that's like a war tax. It taxed income over $800 at 3%. Again, not a lot of people make it over $800. The Revenue Act of 1862 revised it with gradual rates of 3 to 5% and created the Office of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, forerunner of the IRS. These taxes were temporary and repealed in 1872 once the war debt eased. Now they make money off war, so I don't know why they still taxing folk. And you see in 1894 income tax in the Supreme Court fight, the Wilson-Gorman Tariff Act, 1894, included a peacetime income tax of 2% of incomes above 4,000. Again, very few people making $4,000 back in 1894. The Pollock and Farmers Loan Trust, no, Pollock versus Farmers Loan and Trust Company, 1895. The Supreme Court struck it down, ruling that a federal income tax was unconstitutional unless apportioned among the states by population. This decision blocked attempts at a federal income tax for nearly 2 decades. In the 16th Amendment, progressives and populists pushed for a fairer tax system to replace tariffs, which burden consumers. Well, yeah, that's kind of what's happening right now. In 1909, Congress proposed a 16th Amendment, which gave, see what I'm saying? 16th Amendment. This is why, again, I always say, I mean, take laws with a grain of salt because laws can change however, whenever they want them. You talk to people now, they say they'll tell you things in the Constitution. It's Constitution. It's in the Constitution, so you got to follow it. No matter what, you can't change the Constitution. But barely 115 years ago, 16th Amendment was proposed and adopted. How is that possible? But the Constitution was untouchable unless they wanted to be touched, which gave Congress the power to levy income taxes without apportionment among the states. Ratified in 1913, it cleared the way for the modern income tax. The same year, Congress passed a new income tax law, 1% tax on income over $3,000, with additional surtax on higher income up to 7%. Again, not a lot of people was making that kind of money back in them days. Then you got the World War II. Let's see that. Damn, 90%. Good Lord. Damn. Okay. The tax base broadened. Millions of average Americans began paying income tax for the first time. This is 1940s. So we're talking 75, 80 years ago. Withholding 1943. Employers began deducting tax from paychecks, making mass taxation possible. That's crazy. Post-war to present, let's say very high tax rate, 91% of the richest. Dang, though loopholes and deductions meant few actually paid at that level. Yeah, that's probably just pop and stance, song and dance. We're gonna charge 91%, but like I said, they got all these cuts that where they're not really paying 91%. In the 80s, Reagan's made tax reform, top rate dropped from 70% to 28%, which I think is where we're about at right now. Under the Tax Reform Act of 1986, was also broadened the base by closing loopholes. In 1990s, 2000, rates shifted up and down with presidents. Clinton raised them, Bush cut them, Obama partially restored them. Uh, 2017, Trump, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act reduced the corporate tax rate and adjusted individual brackets, lowering rates, but set to expire in 2025 for individuals. See, people see that, and the first thing they want to say is, look at that, reduced corporate tax rate. Here's the thing. Businesses are what the majority of you who's watching this video, y'all work for somebody. Like I work for somebody. That company pays corporate taxes. Those of you who work for Amazon, Walmart, Target, Popeyes, Waffle House, uh, them corporations pay taxes. The less tax that they pay, the more money they can free up to pay their employees or to upgrade the business. So Waffle House, I heard that sometimes smell like straight sewage, depending on where you sit. And they done redone it, and it still starts smelling. They're gonna have to need to tear it down and rebuild it. But it's been there forever. See what I'm saying? So it's like if you can cut taxes, then you can get more money to help rebuild. I don't know why they didn't rebuild that because they done built like 2 other ones not too far from it. But anyway. Anyway, that's why you want the corporation not to pay as much, send as much tax. So where you can at least have a job. And like individual tax, he lowered the individual tax. So again, but y'all can be upset if you want today. Income tax remains the single largest source of federal revenue. That's why the man trying to bring tariffs. So you see the summary. I didn't read it for yourself, but I want you to look at these brackets, man. I'm gonna end it on these brackets before I get back to Joy Reid. Let's say here. Here's a chart. Just say here's a chart of how the top marginal federal income tax rate has shifted in U.S. history. You can see it started out 7% was the rate. Then it went up to 67, like 25, 63, 94%. Damn, 94, 63. God, I can't imagine paying 7% tax on the stuff I earn. Woo, right now it's at 37, which is still crazy. It said, okay, so you can see it began very low in 1913, shot up in World War One, especially World War Two. Like it's like the war taxes to help pay for the war. But now, like I said, somehow they get paid in war. Stayed very high, fell sharply in the 80s. Since then, about 35 to 40%. And this way you can cut your own taxes, reduce your taxes, just learn the tax law. Get that, you know what I'm saying? Get your little, what's that, the Intuit book or the website and do your own taxes and or go get your taxes done by a reputable person and cut your taxes, not with your cousin who say I can get you $10,000 no matter what. Nah, you don't want to do that because you ain't trying to go to penitentiary. And now here is a chart showing how the share Americans pay federal income tax change. 1% of Americans who worked paid income taxes in 1913. This is where Trump is trying to get back to, Joy Reid. Is that what you're saying? You know what I'm saying? What? No, hold on. No, you said pre-Civil War. Where is that back at? Where is it at? Did I? What did it say here? Let's see. Did it say so? Yeah, before early America funded by tariffs and excise tax, the Constitution, direct tax, no permanent federal income tax. Is that what John Trump trying to get to, Joe Reid? You know what I'm saying? So we can kind of go up this timeline and then when it hit here, see if he can't stop it right here somewhere. Or everybody paying like a 1% of the people paid taxes in 1913, Joe Reid. 1945%. Then it jumped up to 75%. It's around about what, World War One, I guess. And now it stayed up ever since. Like, shot up. Boy, if they had stock market for taxes back then, somebody would be a billionaire by now. And that's where, and that's where it's at right now. So what he trying to do is like lower the tax rate, not necessarily stop so many people from paying taxes, like Joe Reid said he was trying to do, and just trying to lower the tax rate so we can have more income so we can keep our money. Because now people are getting smarter. Tell y'all something, man. Pay attention to this stuff. Pay attention to what is going on with taxes and the money and business and AI and everything. Because Joy Reid have you stuck in the past herself. This is what I mean. Because you'll listen to her and not really do your own research. You'll listen to her, not tell you, about, like I say, studying tax laws, studying the law, period, studying AI and learning how to invest. She ain't talking about none of that. All she doing is talking about the boogeyman and how you should be so afraid of what Donald Trump and these white folks or these white supremacists are going to do. We already know what they're going to do. They've been doing since the beginning of the doggone me country. What else is new? The question is, what can you do to help yourself? I went to school, got a degree. My kids, wife, ex-wife, whatever, done the same thing. Parents done the same thing in this system. Same system. Still here, living middle class, moderately okay. Okay. I have been studying investing for a few years, and have taught my kids and instructed my kids to do the same thing at an early age. So when they get my age, they can have $1 million in an investment account, just an investment account alone. We ain't talking about the business job, the job, business, whatever else they saving or doing other money, properties and stuff like that. I'm talking about cash on hand, investing, growing while they, what I'm saying, that money making money while they ain't got to do nothing except put some coins in there every now and then. That's what I'm teaching my kids. Joy Reid, like I say, is talking about the boogeyman. What you worried about that they're gonna try to take it back to where they can say the N word freely. Like I said, they say it now freely. Like I give a care. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, ha ha ha, whatever. I got money. I live in a nice neighborhood. I got a degree. As long, you know what I'm saying, as long as I got my health and strength and my wits about me, I'm gonna continue to prosper. Man, across well, not across the street, but it could hell, it could be some of my neighbors can call me the N word. Probably think about me as N word every time I drive by. Wonder why I'm in this neighborhood. I don't care as long as they don't come knock trying to kick my door in, knock on my door, burn a cross on my yard. None of that. Hang a noose, in a tree in front of my yard. I'm good. Because if they do that, I'm gonna find out who did it, and we're gonna have problems. We're gonna deal with it. I'm not worried about the boogeyman. Never have been. Ain't been worried about the boogeyman since second grade. And don't plan on being worried about the boogeyman at all. I do what I can do and do what I need to do, and we keep it moving. Now, I ain't saying, but like I said, here's the thing, and I'm gonna end it with this. Once you gain the knowledge and understand how the system works, a lot of stuff she's talking about don't scare you because you know there are ways you can change it together. But you can't change it if one, you separate black people and women, meaning you are a woman. So the only people, like I said earlier, the only people that's left once you take the woman out of the equation are black men. So you see what I'm saying? You still being divisive this whole time. It ain't our fault that Donald Trump is president. It ain't our fault. Even if some of us might have voted for him, it ain't our fault. You gotta talk to them white folk and the Mexicans. We ain't had we didn't vote for him like that. Black men didn't vote for him like that. 90 something percent of black women voted for Kamala and it didn't help. She didn't even get close. So how in the hell our vote was gonna even help y'all? Remember, we're on 13% of the population. So ain't nobody worried about our vote, right? But you still trying to put black men at the bottom. But you need us to let you tell it to vote so that way Donald Trump and Republicans don't win. A lot of us just sat it out. That's what it was because tired of dealing with the Democratic bullcrap. But hey, it is what it is. You do what you do, believe what you believe, want to believe. Joy Reid, man, yeah, keep that on BET. They don't need you back on MSNBC with that crap. We don't need you back. We don't need you with that crap. Period. Anywhere. Because like again, you're trying to scare everybody, get everybody with these scare tactics. It ain't gonna work. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Leave your comments below. Share it with the world. Let's have an intelligent conversation. You know how we do it around here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Those four things cost you maybe a couple of minutes out your day, but it means the world to us at this channel. And with that being said, I leave you in peace, and I'll see you on the other side.